dawal fu ba one stop shop. Ana sama jigéen ñi dama bëgg ngeen jox ma seen nopp garme yi ndaxte quality jasna amal nañ leen ay til yu toj daala pos abaya yu yiiw waaye it amal nañ leen ay boreda yu rafet boreda yoo xam ne pour góor ñi la ak pour jigéen ñi amal nañ leen body scrub yi nga xam ne nii dafay defar seen yaram bam nice waaye it fàttewuñ fa diw yi ana sama jeeg yu pare yi quality jasna amal nañ leen fa andi cuuraay yu neex house spray ak bépp xeetu baax pour seen biir néeg dama ne atum ren jii ku sa jëkkër mere ku ne yow la neex ndaxte quality jasna ñëw na si dëkk bi pour defar sëy yi makeup artist yi bàyyi leen gannaaw ñu ngi leen fa amal ay makeup product yu quality waxu leen léegi nii foofa sa Westfield jàkkaarloog monument bi wala nga jokkoo quality jasna si 250 01 24 ak quality jasna taaral sa bopp taaral sa néeg waaye it bégal sa alaaji aas.
The media and fellow Gambians. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Omar Kamara and one of the petitioners. And then with me here today is Mr. Madi Jobate and Mr. Babukar Nyang. And if you recall, we made an announcement yesterday that we are submitting a petition to the National Assembly and Petition Committee on allocation of state lands to state and non-state officials, individuals, organizations, and business between the duration of 19th of January 2017 to 31st December 2023. After the submission of the petition this morning, we are here to inform the press and the general public and all Gambians the content of our petition, as we are inspired by the simple fact that accountability and transparency should be the center stone for our governance system, and also our public officials must be held accountable at all times. So we have submitted the petition this morning, and then I will invite my colleague Babukar Nyang to read the details of the petition and what it entails as far as the submission is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. As Omar rightly said, we've sent this petition today to the National Assembly, and we are here to make this press conference to the general public. This letter is addressed to the clerk of the National Assembly in Banjul of the Gambia. We wish to submit this petition for your kind consideration. We believe we are eligible to make this petition as Gambians. The petitioners have made all efforts to address these issues raised in the petitions but have not received any response from all relevant institutions. This petition is made in all seriousness and has the prospect of ensuring accountability and good governance, and it is not frivolous. The issues raised in these petitions are not pending before any court or any adjudicatory body. And the statement continues. And the title for it is The Purpose and Scope of this Petition, which we are going to continue to read. And the title of the petition is Allocation of State Lands to State and Non-State Official, Individuals, Organizations, and Businesses between 19 January 2027 to 31st December 2023. The purpose of this petition is to inquire into the allocation of state lands to public officials, individuals, and state and non-state institutions, organizations, and businesses to ensure that these allocations were done in line with the 1997 Constitution, the State Lands Act 1991, the Land Acquisition and Compensation Act 1991, and all other relevant laws are free from undue influence, bribery, exploitation, and official privilege, or any inappropriate means. The petition equally seeks to ensure that due process and rule of law were strictly followed and that allocations were legal and legitimate. The petition seeks to ensure accountability in the allocation of all state lands. This petition arises out of public concerns and allegations of inappropriate, unfairness, and inappropriate and illegal allocation of state land by the executive. The petitioners believe that the petition relates to the matter of public concern and interest, and it is within the National Assembly's supervisory powers to ensure accountability in all state institutions, particularly the functioning of the executive. The last point of it is the petition specifically referred to the following officials. 1, the President. 2, the Vice President. 3, the Cabinet Ministers. 4, National Assembly members. 5, senior officials in ministries, departments, and agencies. 6, judicial officers. 7, private companies and business persons. 8, private citizens, individuals. 9, state institutions, and 10, non-state institutions or organizations. The prayer for this petition is, the petition seeks the following prayers. A, for the identification of all beneficiaries of state allocations as per terms of this petition by indicating 1, the names of the respective beneficiaries. 2, the size of piece of land allocated to each beneficiaries. 3, the physical state of piece of land allocated. 4, the location of piece of land allocated. 5, the dates of both application and allocation of piece of land. 6, determine whether the allocation met the due process without any element of undue influence, bribery, or any inappropriate official conduct. 7, determine whether the beneficiaries meet the full eligibility requirements as set out in the State Lands 1991 and other relevant legislations. 8, determine whether allocation of non-state individuals, organizations, and businesses followed due process and meet legal requirements in full without any undue influence or inappropriate official conduct. Determine cases of misapplication of the law or incidents of undue influence and bribery leading to the allocation of state lands to a beneficiary. And finally, determine whether the legal and ethical standards and justifications were met or not in allocation of land to beneficiary. And this was respectfully submitted by the following petitioners, and it was submitted signed by Mr. Madi Jobate, Mr. Omar Kamara, and Mr. Babukar Nyang. Thank you very much.
Details of the petition submitted by the petitioners this morning at the National Assembly of the Gambia. And then now I will give the floor to Mr. Madi Jobate to add more light, and then also will run the petition quickly in the local language, probably in Mandinka, for the other listeners and viewers to understand why we are seated here today and what is the importance of this petition and what we seek to gain. Thank you very much.
You've heard my colleagues highlight this petition. To say the reason we are submitting this petition is to ensure that there is transparency and accountability in the management of public affairs and in the management of public resources by public institutions and officials. Land is one of the, probably not even one of the, but the most crucial national asset. And this land of the Gambia, which we all share, should benefit all Gambians. And so when we particularly deal with the issue of state lands that are said to be under the control of the state, for which citizens can benefit, that process of making citizens enjoy this resource should be done in a manner that is transparent, that is accountable, that follows the rule of law, and that is ethical. We have noticed since 2017 to date, and we are starting from 2017 because that is when we ushered in a new Gambia, or what was supposed to be the new Gambia. We know there have been many commissions or inquiries, going back to years, but we have to start at a point, and that is 2017 to date. We have noticed allocations of land to public officials, families of public officials, other individuals connected with public officials, and that is unfair and it is unjust. And questions have been raised as to the justification of these allocations, and the state has not provided any justification, rather would ignore any calls to that effect. And so we, as concerned citizens, feel that we have a duty and a right to hold our state to account, so that we have raised this petition to ask the National Assembly, which has the overall accountability purpose in this country, through the Public Petitions Committee, to look at this issue to ensure that state lands are well managed, and those who are been given to citizens legitimately, legally deserve it, and they have it in the right manner, in the appropriate way. That is good for all of us, because otherwise what would happen is we will see state lands being given to people who do not deserve it, and those who deserve do not get it. And that is a recipe for conflict in any society, because land is a major source of conflict in many societies. So we feel we need to do this as citizens for the peace and stability of the Gambia, for the good governance of the Gambia, and bearing in mind that while the state is giving lands to individuals, okay, we have seen state institutions renting. You have ministries renting. You have government departments renting in private properties. You have government agencies renting in private properties. And you wonder, why would we, state institutions, let's say a ministry like the Ministry of Interior, the ministry responsible for internal affairs, for home affairs, and in its own home, it is rented in a private place. That's a contradiction. So it means the government is not prioritizing public interest, because the money that would be used to rent these properties could have been used to build a massive office space somewhere where state agencies, departments, ministries could occupy without any cost to Gambians. So all of these are issues that concern us, and above all, we have to highlight the fact that we have seen the Minister for Lands, Mr. Hamad Ba, say they have allocated land that is allocated for the Chief Justice, property for the Chief Justice, to the President. And by law, the President doesn't qualify to get state land. But apart from that, land that is already allocated for a state official, that is the Chief Justice, cannot now be taken away from that allocation to be given to somebody else for private purposes. All right. So all of these are factors that raise the issue that indeed the issue of land must be addressed. And we have seen in the Janneh Commission how public officials, particularly the President, the former President Jammeh, has arrogated to himself hundreds of pieces of land across this country. And, that has been a cause of tension in many communities, in many families, in the way and manner those lands are obtained. And we know a land commission was established. During that time, dissolved, another one constituted. But until now, land issues, we see how they erupt within our communities across the country. And so, this is the time to go and address this land issue, and within the broader framework of making sure that Gambia government upholds the rule of law. Gambia government protects public interests, to ensure that there is transparency in the way decisions are made, in the way public resources are managed or distributed in any way. That transparency has to take place. We cannot continue like this. And so we have come here to do that. So that ninsafono kami mbaniule mele mandinga kaumoi ndel mosabo membe sirin jambi Baboucar Nyang aning Omar Kamara and defa Madi Jobate nga petition le safe, all right, nga ki député bunto National Assembly kanyinin karoke state lands kenol mealon ka be mansa kunala mararole kono i melan ko kedi banko dingul la kafol la bundal la bisesol la banko kan ka ko lankenema ka kontibo ha nga nyin lo lata bari nga krosi kabrin 2017 manke tinyaro nyin datita wolto bari isita fo nzafo na independent bari ndel nga ko dati kabrin 2017 fombe bitilo mento banko la keno membe banko la masakunda bulu ya talan mol temale melaron ko dolbe je imanyan na kasoto yaje comme ni mantani luala a luaye kumel landi tunkul mel landi comme menyanta nen la mo yeke moti menyanta keno sotonna is have me requirements in all soton comme ye landi mo la man ko landbe bul fo pare comme minister all right president anin député anin tarin so lafta lankana mo anin contribuer soton nyin kuoto because keno mu kubaleti keno aka fitino sabu an nyin Gambia keno Gambia bele dentala so kono membe dandin mararin na masa kunda bulu ni bo keno dila momondi na nyanda kala monati o kafleti o bundaleti melon ko a jaretele yasoton coming itimmatale luwala karoto bang telewnin tonyala karoto bang hadama la karoto nyawnyanni imari timmatale pour yosoto so wala nandin ko ndel banko dingul nga nyantule soton wargorone bembulu kaje ko masa kundala aka kitiol melke aka decisional melta aka sinol melta isinol be larinin loi kan so ngawnyinin karo ngawle di bi national assembly la an be jikiring nienna petition jibe e be d'accord le be sonna nga meitandi wo petition to so that ye nyinin karo men ko yake e be wulla yo tamande so ngamira nsafo babukar fanayo sataning wolof ha okay
ñun ñetta ñi tok ni muy man Baboucar Niang mom Madi Jobaate ak Omar Camara dañ binda bataxal muy lettre bu nga xamne dañ ko yónnee néegi député yi pour lutax ñu yónnee ko néegi député yi mooy ñun dañ nekk ay Gambien yu nga xamne dañ foog ne Gambie dañ ko wara doxal ci lu ñuy wax démocratie not only democracy waaye accountability mooy tam nit ku nekk lu nga xamne ni yow yaa ko def te ñu ngi la teg ci place bu nga xamne ni place su liggéeyukaay yi nit ñi Gambien yi la nga wara mëna fayeku wala nga mëna laajte ñu mër la mëna laajte suñ la laajtee dara ci liggéey nga ko wara mëna xam wala di nga ko mëna def looloo tax ñu ñëw ñu indi lu ñoo wax pétition bi mooy ñu ne ko néegi député yi ci pétition bi luñ see wax mooy dañ bëgg pour néegi député yi ñoom ñu ngi am kuréel bu nga xam ne muy seetlu nit ñi seen naqar bu nga xam ne am nañ ko te yónnee leen ko naka la si gaay di mën a seetee pakka yu nga xam ne ñu ngi koy joxe muy laan yu nga xam ne ñu ngi koy jox nit ñi ñu nga xam ne ñoo nekkoon si gouvernement mu nekk si nguur nekk si agency nguur wala nekk si béréb bu nga xam ne ni si mbootaayu nguur la nekk lañ ay nit ñu nga xam ne ñu ngi fa wala nga xam ne sax dañ nekk di def ay business ñuy ay businessman so pétition bi lu mu laajte National Assembly bi def enquête boobu seet naka lañ joxe ñooñu laan yooyu noonu naka lañ joxe ñooñu pàkk yooyu noonu xam na ndax bu ñu leen koy jox jar na yoon ndax bu ñu leen koy jox topp nañ loi yu nga xam ne ak charte yu nga xam ne moom la constitution ni réew mi moom la acte boobu ñuy wax ñu muy state land act ak yooyu noonu yëpp ñu tëral si réew mi topp nañ ko pour foog ne loolu jaar na yoon leneen lu ñu si teg tamit mooy ñu gis ne laan moo indi fitna yu bari si yeneen réew yi te ñu gis ne pour Gambie réewi Gambie mu nekk si jàmma mbiri laan dañ si war a taxaw léegi nii ñu xam ne naka lañ koo joxee ak naka la ñoo taxawee ba meeg soo ne laan bi jox nañ ko ku ko yelloo ñu joxe misaal ne su fekkee ne comme ne yow am nga sa liggéey am nga place bu gën a mag si place bi muy ku si nekk ni président wala ku si nekk ni vice président wala ku si nekk ni nga xam ne ay ministres lañ wala ñu nekk si néegi député yi nga leen di jox laan te ñooñu yelloowuñ laan mel na ni yaa ngi xañ laan bi wala yaa ngi xañ pàkk bi ku nga xam ne ni moom mënoon na koo am so pour ñu bañ a dégg si jafe-jafe yooyu noonu ba pare taxaw gis ne Gambie nekk na réew mu nga xam ne ñu ngi koy doxali am bu am sarta moo tax ñun ñu yónnee pétition bi pour wax ne pétition bi dafa war a taxaw pour ñu xam ne dëgg-dëgg ak laan wala pàkk yi nu ñu koy joxee si réew mi jaar na yoon maa di joxe na fi misaal mu ne su fekkee ne comme like réew mi muy nguur gi nu mu war a doxalee affaire yi laan mooy ku nekk mu am laan newatina si agency wala department wala sax ministère yu nga xam ne ni ñoom ñoo saytu wàlli doxalini réew mi amuñ ay laan waaye dañ nekk di luwaas laan ba pare nguur gi di jël ay laan yooyu noonu ñu instead pour ñu jox ko ministre tabaxal leen fa defal leen fa fu nga xam ne dëkkuwaay la ñooñ dañ nekk di luwaas boobu noonu muy génnee si poosi nit ñi ñuy fay te fekk ñu ngi am laan yu nga xam ne waroon lañ leen koo mën a defal so kon si gàttal pétition bi loolu la muy saytu pour wan National Assembly bu nga xam ne moom moo amee doole pour ñooñu nga xam ne ni ñoom ñoo saytu mbiri pàkk yi ni ñu joxe si diggante buñ tudd pour ñu ooleen ñu ñëw ñoom tamit ñu taxaw gis ne lay nañ xam nañ ne laan yi wala pàkk yu ñu leen jox nu ñu leen ko joxee jaar na yoon wala noonu la ko sartay réew mi tëralee tam so loolu moo nekkoon suñu wax si gàttal si mbiri si làkki kalama Wolof wa.
Well, for the rundown in the local languages, before we close, probably we're going to open for the press to ask questions. If you have any clarifications, as Babakar took us through the details in our petition, so we'll open the floor. If you have any questions, you could ask questions for clarifications, and then we move forward. Thank you. To answer that question, we expect the government of the Gambia to take every concern of the citizens seriously, and then this one cannot be treated exceptional. And then for us, we believe that this is one of the most serious issues right now in this country, looking at our land allocation, looking at state lands, and looking at all what we have said here. Madi have talked about it, that we have government state departments that are renting, and we have citizens, ordinary Gambian citizens, poor citizens, that housing is a problem. I think this petition is going to raise an alert, and then the government should take this opportunity to be serious with these investigations and ensure that we get, but also to clear themselves. We have seen the opposition, the president himself, state ministers, the accusations are too much. So for them to clarify themselves and then be on the spot of accountability, they should treat this petition not just with seriousness but with urgency as well. So I'll allow my colleagues to add on to that.
Yeah, well, I think as representatives, as people mandated with this power, with this responsibility, they will live up to it. Of course, a petition has to meet certain requirements. And we took our time to study the standing orders and all the requirements that will enable us petition to be admissible. So we feel we have qualified or met all the necessary requirements. Okay? So we are hoping and strongly believe this petition would be admitted by the National Assembly, and an inquiry will take place. As we said in our petition, and just Omar has said, this petition did not come out of the blue. It came from genuine concerns. You will recall sometime 2022 or so, there was a information leaked from the Ministry of Lands that listed a number of ministers, some current ministers, some former ministers, including some family members, some associates, who were given land. And I was one person in particular who raised that issue and challenged the Minister of Lands at that time, Mr. Musa Drame. And he, instead of responding to those concerns, threatened to take me to court. And until today, he has not called me to court. I'm waiting for that court, to go to court with him. But we feel as responsible citizens, we have many opportunities to ensure accountability, to hold those in power to account. And the National Assembly petitions process is one of those opportunities, avenues. And we are taking advantage of it, and we call on all Gambians to also take advantage of this mechanism to deal with other issues in the country. So, as I said, we've done our best to meet the requirements of a petition, and we have all the reason to be hopeful that the National Assembly will not dismiss it and will take it. So that is why we start. Yeah. Mechanisms for accountability in this country. And, we hope National Assembly will accept our petition, and we will leave it at that. But of course, we have an information commission that is established in this country. We also have that right as citizens to submit to relevant state agencies as part of the Access to Information Act to demand them to give this information we are requesting. All right. the reason we are submitting to the National Assembly and not first to Information Commission, because we want the National Assembly, which is a body, would interrogate the issue so that the full details would come, so that just writing to an institution on the basis of the Access to Information Act can just give you some information that may not have the full details, okay, and so on. But apart from that, the courts are there. We can also go to court. That's also an option, that if we feel the laws are being violated by public institutions, by the Ministry of Lands in the way they allocated lands, or to certain individuals in the way they were allocated state lands, we can go to court to challenge that. So we have all means, a lot of means to deal with this. But as responsible citizens, we are taking one avenue after after other.
Not particularly.
No.
Yes.
No. So I mean, there is a public petitions committee at the National Assembly. They receive petitions, and they review to make sure the petition meets the requirements, and then it is accepted. I think it is up to their schedule. So it has nothing to do with the elections. We'll always have the National Assembly. So we hope they are going to give it the urgency it deserves. But we have no time frame. We are just submitting to the petition committee and to National Assembly, to the petition committee, and I'm sure they will apply their processes, and we will wait to hear from them.
Yeah.
Understanding how institutions work.
This petition should be treated with urgency, and we will stop it at that for now. But it's also important, like I said, for them to know that they have an oversight body, and this is one of them. So delaying this petition is one way flagging their own responsibility to hold executive and other public officials to account. So we don't give them time frame. We cannot condescend them on time frame, but we can tell them that they should take this petition with seriousness and urgency for now.
Yeah, again, to follow up on that, to respond, I think we also have the right, for example, like what Madi was saying, we have the Information Act that we have, and we also have the courts which are here. But like to say that we are giving them up to December, up to January, or up to next year, that we can determine now, but we will give the benefit of the doubt. But again, we are also going to follow all other processes that are there in case that this one fails to materialize.
Yes, somebody was saying. Yes.
Like Madi said clearly, we have the courts. And then as responsible citizens, again, it is our responsibility to take any step that is legally accepted in a democratic and functioning democracy. And for instance, if the recommendations are made, we will now follow up with the courts to see those recommendations are implemented. If, for example, the recommendation, for instance, is to ask those public officials to return the land to this state, we will also have monitoring mechanism to ensure that those lands that in questions are returned, and we see that they are definitely returned back to the people, the government that owns it through the Ministry of Lands and Local Government. Again, also, these processes might take long, which we are very patient with, and we will definitely understand going through all the patient. But again, any information that is required to get this, to ensure that the Gambian citizens who are asking questions about the land being given to privileged people, being given to people who already have access and privileges of land, being questioned, will make sure we go to the bottom of the ladder in ensuring that is done.
Just a follow-up one, and Babga has laid it out well. But just to say, this petition may have been submitted by the three of us, but I want to believe this petition is the Gambian people's petition, that every Gambian citizen who is concerned about the good governance of the Gambia, about transparency and accountability, about the management of public resources, takes this as your personal petition and interest, and so get involved. So that when this thing goes through a process in the National Assembly, until they reach a point now they made recommendations, the National Assembly, when they make recommendations, or let's say take decisions on the floor of the Parliament, the executive is bound by law to implement those decisions. Failure to do so would constitute contempt of court. So it is not a matter of what me and you do, it is also the National Assembly to know that they have made decisions and ensure that their decisions are enforced by the executive. And if they fail to do, to hold the executive accountable. The National Assembly has those powers. They can do a lot of things. Now, as citizens, as he said, we can go to court, for example, but we can also organize civil disobedience to tell the people to protest until government implements those recommendations. That also is an option that we have. As he said, we have many legal, non-violent, peaceful, democratic means to employ. We can name and shame them, all right, and so on. So in any case, we are not going to relent until we see justice is done. And we do not think this is a matter for three of us, but we think this is a matter for all Gambians. Yes, all Gambians.
It's transparency and accountability. There are laws in requiring state lands, and we want to make sure that the due process is followed in all the land allocation. So if we found out that, we know that the government has done right in allocating lands, and then otherwise we ensure that we hold them accountable for not following the due process. So that is a simple game. The game is we are interested in knowing the procedures and in how legal is it in the acquirement in the allocation of those lands to those individuals. So if we find out correct, now we have given Gambians have given themselves an opportunity to know that their public officials have done the right thing. Otherwise, we go ahead with accountability measures and ensure that we hold them accountable for doing the wrong thing.
We are law-abiding citizens.
Yes.
We are not aware, but if that is definitely there, we are happy that it's coming because it is now going to bring light to what we wanted to hear. And that is now even going to help this committee in doing their work easy. Responding again to the brother who asked about if we found out that it was in a due process. My question was going to be, surely, how could the president, a vice president, benefit from a state allocated land with hefty salaries, with good facilities, and every other thing, privileges that they have? With the monies that they had, can't they use it to buy their own lands? So definitely, Flex, for that question, my response will be, we will be very happy to know how that goes. One, because we are not aware. My colleagues are also not aware, but we will be very happy to know how it goes. And it will also help us in following up this petition, because now we will now be able to know what next we are going to take in the other one. Again, Mahdi mentioned, coming to the first question, Mahdi mentions all citizens. For me, being opposition, being ruling, being anybody who knows that this is of interest to you, you will be welcome to work with us. Because what we want transparency. Again, there are oppositions who are there, whose hands are very clean in this thing. So if we try to reject maybe or not accommodating them, it could also be distancing people who could even give us a valuable information. So to me, I think we will get each and every person who of this is interest to you. Like Mahdi said, we might be 3 of us here. We might not even be the people that have 10, but there are people out there who are just interested to know the outcome of this petition. Yep.
All right.
Yes. Yeah, so I think finally what we would say is, which is not my opinion, one can go and check with government reports. There's so much corruption in this country. And corruption is a cancer. The poverty in this country, the poor services in this country, the lack of opportunities, the reason our young people want to cross the seas to go and see greener pastures somewhere else, and so on, are all, for me, coming out of that culture of corruption in this country, for which there is no accountability. Since 2017, one can see that only one public official was ever, put before a court and, got convicted for corruption. But even there, pardoned, less than half of the time. Okay, we know 1 or 2 other cases against public officials are going in the courts. We know an anti-corruption commission is yet to be set up, but a law has been set up against corruption. And what is all this corruption about? Is the failure, or the deliberate misconduct within the public sector in the way they manage public resources, in the way they carry out decisions and actions. And that is making citizens deprived, impoverished, and and all the difficulties that they face. And Gambia, especially when we talk about the new Gambia from 2017, we are not going to ensure sustainable development, opportunities for all, equal opportunities for all, ensure peace and stability in this country if we don't make sure that we bring transparency and accountability in the public sector. So this is about fighting corruption, fighting abuse of office, fighting abuse of power, to make sure that the rule of law is upheld and human rights are protected. Now, lands, as we said, are a national resource, and all Gambians deserve land in this country. So that if the state is supposed to give land, it has to be very, very set very clear terms, so that no one is disadvantaged and no one is unfairly advantaged. So this is the point, and we want all Gambians, to support this petition. We hope the National Assembly, we are calling on them to accept this petition. As we said, we did everything to meet the requirements of the petition process, and we look forward to what they will do, and if they do accept it, we look forward to the inquiry and the recommendations or decisions they will make and the enforcement of them. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Once again, we want to thank the press for joining us this afternoon, and also to every Gambian. Like Madi said, like my colleague said, this is a fight for every Gambian, and it is to ensure that we fight against corruption, we fight against mismanagement of state resources, and then to ensure we promote transparency in our governance system. We look forward to having the National Assembly accept this petition, and we will move it from there. In the meanwhile, we will keep you posted as we follow up and also continue to call on the demands in this petition to be answered and to be accepted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you need a soft copy of the details of the petition, you can send us, any one of us, on WhatsApp or email, so that we can share that with you.
We will share with you.
Thank you.
ku yoddu sa xët te quality jas na ñoo yor seen cumbukaay tur day uyu borom jas na pire soo ko bëggee fii si biir Gambia bi dawal foofu sa quality jas na your number one stop shop. Ana sama jigéen ñi dama bëgg ngeen jox ma seen nopp garme yi ndaxte quality jas na amal nañ leen ay til yu toj daala poos abaya yu yiiw waaye it amal nañ leen ay boreda yu rafet, boreda yoo xam ne pour góor ñi la ak pour jigéen ñi. Amal nañ leen body scrub yi nga xam ne nii dafay defar seen yaram bam nice, waaye it fàttewuñ fa diw yi. Ana sama jeeg yu pare yi quality jas na amal nañ leen fa andi cuuraay yu neex, house spray ak bépp xeetu baax pour seen biir néeg. Dama ne atum ren jii ku sa jëkkër mere ku ne yow la neex, ndaxte quality jas na ñëw na si dëkk bi pour defar sëy yi. Makeup artist yi bàyyiñ leen gannaaw, ñu ngi leen fa amal ay makeup product yu quality. Waxu leen léegi nii foofu sa Westfield jàkkaarloog monument bi, wala nga jokkoo quality jas na si 250 01 24 ak quality jas na. Taaral sa bopp, taaral sa néeg, waaye it bégal sa alaaji aas.
La mulu sulo de kankatola, como Mario ya tobe kanka.